The sun had just started to rise, casting a warm, golden light over the city streets. It was a busy morning, but in a small, cozy cafe tucked between tall office buildings, everything felt calm and inviting. Inside, the smell of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the aroma of warm pastries, creating a comforting atmosphere that drew in people from all walks of life. At a corner table near the window sat a man, his suit crisp and neatly pressed, but there was a softness in his eyes that no business attire could hide. He was a CEO, a man used to controlling large meetings and making important decisions, yet today he had no boardroom to manage, no contracts to sign. He had his daughter by his side, a tiny bundle of curiosity and energy, sitting in a high chair with her little feet dangling and her wide eyes taking in everything around her. The girl had just turned 1, a milestone full of wonder and discovery. She had started babbling a few months ago, and every new sound she made was a delight to her father. Today, he was especially excited because he had noticed signs that she was ready to say her first real word. He had been looking forward to this moment, not for any personal pride, but because he knew it would mark the beginning of a new way his daughter would connect with the world. Around them, the cafe was lively. Baristas called out drink orders. The hiss of the espresso machine punctuated the soft background music, and customers chatted quietly over their morning routines. Among the staff was a waitress who had worked there for years. She was not just known for her efficiency, but for the warmth she carried in every gesture. She had a way of making everyone feel seen and valued, from the regulars who came in every morning to the first-time visitors who were instantly charmed by her friendliness. Today, she approached the CEO's table with a gentle smile, carrying a plate with a small breakfast arranged just for the little girl. The CEO watched his daughter as she reached out her tiny hand toward the plate. He felt a swell of emotion in his chest. Despite his busy life, he made a promise to himself when she was born that he would be present, that he would never let work overshadow the precious moments of her early childhood. He had sacrificed many social engagements, late-night dinners, and even business trips to ensure that he could be there for her first steps, first giggles, and now, possibly, her first words. The little girl grabbed a piece of her breakfast, chewing thoughtfully as her father encouraged her with gentle words. He spoke in a soft tone, guiding her, but never pushing. He knew that these early experiences were about discovery and joy, not performance. Around them, the cafe hummed with life. A nearby couple laughed quietly over coffee. A young man typed away on his laptop, and a group of friends compared notes on their plans for the day. Yet, despite the background noise, there was a kind of protective bubble around the father and daughter, a space where the outside world seemed to fade. The waitress knelt down slightly to the child's level, her eyes sparkling with kindness. She offered a small piece of fruit, and the little girl reached for it eagerly. The father watched closely, heart pounding with anticipation. He had been dreaming of this day for weeks, imagining the moment when she would finally form a word that held meaning, a word that would show him that she understood and could communicate with the world in a new way. Then something remarkable happened. The little girl's eyes focused on the waitress, her tiny finger pointing directly at her. She opened her mouth, and a sound came out. Not a babble, not a random noise, but a clear, deliberate word. The father's heart stopped for a moment. He leaned closer, barely daring to breathe. The word was not what he expected. It wasn't mama or dada. It wasn't something she had heard at home over and over. Instead, it was a recognition of the person who had shown her warmth, attention, and kindness in that simple cafe environment. The waitress froze, her hands still outstretched, her eyes widening in surprise. She blinked once, then twice, trying to process what she had just heard. The other customers turned to look, sensing that something extraordinary was happening. The father's face was a mixture of awe and joy, tears threatening to spill over as he realized the significance of the moment. This was not just a first word. It was a first connection, a moment where his daughter acknowledged someone outside of their immediate family with clarity and affection. The cafe seemed to hold its breath. Even the baristas paused, mugs in hand, as the little girl repeated the word, her voice gaining confidence. The waitress, overwhelmed with emotion, reached down to gently touch the child's hand. The simple gesture, a small touch, was enough to communicate a world of warmth and recognition. In that instant, the father felt a wave of gratitude, not for the word itself, but for the human connection it represented. He realized that despite all the wealth, power, and influence he held, it was moments like these that truly mattered. The little girl's laughter bubbled up as the waitress responded with smiles and soft words, reinforcing the bond that had just been formed. The father joined in, laughing and clapping, feeling an overwhelming sense of love and pride. Around them, life in the cafe continued, but the atmosphere had subtly changed. There was a shared sense of witnessing something pure and heartwarming, a reminder of the beauty in everyday interactions and the impact one person can have on another's life. As breakfast continued, the father reflected on the journey that had brought him here. From late nights in the office to early mornings in the nursery, every challenge and sacrifice had led to this simple yet profound moment. He understood, perhaps for the first time, that parenting was not just about providing, it was about presence, observation, and nurturing the emotional growth of his child. And sometimes, the most meaningful lessons came from unexpected places. A waitress in a cafe, a shared smile, a first word spoken with genuine recognition. By the time they left the cafe, the father's mind was full of reflections and gratitude. He knew that his daughter would grow up surrounded by love, but also by real human connections, the kind that money could never buy. He glanced down at her, still chattering and reaching out for the world around her, and felt a renewed commitment to be present for every moment, every first, every discovery. Today had been a simple breakfast, but it had left a lasting mark on their hearts. It was a day that neither he nor his daughter would ever forget. A day that began like any other but ended with the quiet magic of a first word spoken with meaning and love. After the magical moment at the cafe, the CEO walked through the quiet streets with his daughter snug in her stroller. The city around them buzzed with life, but he felt as if they were moving in a bubble of calm. The memory of her first word kept playing in his mind. He remembered her tiny finger pointing, her eyes shining with recognition, and the clarity in her voice. It was a moment he knew he would carry with him forever, a reminder that life's true treasures were in these small, tender experiences. He thought about the challenges of raising a child on his own. Being a CEO meant long hours, endless meetings, and constant pressure. Many people assumed that wealth could solve everything, but he knew better. Money could buy comfort, opportunities, and convenience, but it could not buy moments like these. Real connections, trust, love, and attention. He had often felt the weight of balancing work and fatherhood, knowing that every hour spent in the office was an hour not spent teaching, comforting, or simply enjoying time with his daughter. Yet, he had made sacrifices willingly because he wanted to be there for her first steps, her first words, and the little victories that made life rich and meaningful. Walking past familiar stores and cafes, he reflected on the early days of being a single parent. At first, he had felt overwhelmed. Diapers, sleepless nights, feeding schedules, and constant worry about her health and happiness were new experiences that came with a steep learning curve. There had been moments of doubt, moments when he wondered if he was doing enough, moments when the loneliness of raising a child alone pressed heavily on his shoulders. But he had found strength in love, the pure, uncomplicated love of his daughter, and the joy that came from watching her grow and discover the world. He recalled a night not long ago when she had woken him up crying. Instead of being frustrated, he had held her in his arms, softly rocking her, whispering gentle words to calm her. In those quiet hours, he realized that success in business was nothing compared to success in parenting. The responsibility of nurturing a young life was the greatest challenge and the most rewarding experience he had ever faced. He wanted to ensure that his daughter felt safe, loved, and encouraged, no matter how demanding his work became. The CEO also thought about the lessons he wanted to pass on to her. More than wealth or knowledge, he wanted to teach her empathy, kindness, and awareness. He wanted her to understand the value of genuine human connections, the importance of recognizing the efforts of others, and the power of small gestures of love and care. Her first word, spoken with recognition and warmth, was a perfect example of the kind of person he hoped she would become. someone who noticed and appreciated the goodness in people, someone who could express gratitude naturally, without being prompted. Meanwhile, his daughter gurgled happily in her stroller, waving her tiny hands at passing pedestrians, completely oblivious to the weight of the world he carried. Her laughter and curiosity were contagious, drawing smiles from strangers. The CEO smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart that no business achievement could ever match. He realized that these simple moments, sharing a smile, feeling her small hand in his, watching her explore, were what truly defined happiness. As they approached a small park, he decided to sit on a bench and let her enjoy the fresh air. She immediately reached for the grass, giggling as she touched it, fascinated by the texture and color. He watched her, noticing how attentive she was to the smallest details, how her eyes sparkled with curiosity and wonder. Every discovery she made seemed like a small revelation, a reminder that the world was full of beauty and fascination if one took the time to observe. The father thought about the future, imagining her growing up in a world full of challenges and opportunities. He hoped to guide her, to protect her as long as he could, and to let her learn lessons naturally while always being there as a support. He understood that his role was not to control her world, but to nurture her confidence, to teach her values, and to give her the tools to navigate life with kindness and strength. Watching her interact with the world with such joy and openness reinforced his commitment to being a present and loving parent. The CEO also reflected on the people who had influenced him. He remembered mentors who had guided him in business and life, and he realized that the waitress at the cafe was, in a way, a small mentor to his daughter. She had shown patience, kindness, and attention, and his daughter had recognized that. It reminded him that lessons could come from unexpected places, and that true character was often revealed through small actions rather than grand gestures. He silently thanked the waitress, not just for the moment she had shared with his daughter, but for reminding him of the power of genuine human connection. He thought about his own parents and the values they had instilled in him. He wanted to pass those lessons on, not through lectures or rules, but through lived experiences and meaningful interactions. He wanted his daughter to grow up understanding the importance of empathy, respect, and gratitude. Her first word had been a small but profound expression of these values, a sign that she was already learning to notice and appreciate the kindness of others. As the morning turned into noon, the park became livelier. Children ran across the grass, families picnicked, and the sound of laughter filled the air. The CEO and his daughter joined in the simple pleasures, playing with a soft ball and chasing each other around the open space. He marveled at her energy, her joy, and her natural curiosity. Every smile, every giggle, every moment of wonder strengthened the bond between father and daughter. He realized that being a single parent did not mean doing everything perfectly. It meant being present, being patient, and being willing to learn alongside his child. It meant showing love through actions, through attention, through shared experiences. The struggles he had faced were not burdens, but opportunities to grow and to understand the depth of human emotion. The challenges of balancing work and parenthood had taught him resilience, compassion, and the importance of prioritizing what truly mattered. By the time they left the park, the father felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had witnessed his daughter's first word, her recognition of kindness, and her joy in exploring the world. These experiences had reinforced his belief that life's most meaningful moments were not found in boardrooms or bank accounts, but in the everyday connections, discoveries, and expressions of love. He felt gratitude for the simple joys that often went unnoticed, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a child, the kindness of strangers. As they walked back toward their apartment, he reflected on the journey ahead. Parenting would continue to be full of challenges, surprises, and learning moments. But he was ready, committed to being a loving and present father, to celebrating every milestone, and to cherishing the small but significant moments that would shape his daughter's life and their bond. He knew that these experiences would leave lasting impressions, teaching both of them lessons about love, kindness, and the beauty of human connection. The CEO smiled down at his daughter, who had fallen asleep in the stroller after a morning full of excitement and discovery. He gently covered her with a light blanket, feeling the weight of her tiny body against his heart, and thought about the day ahead, knowing that this was just the beginning of a journey filled with more firsts, more lessons, and more moments that would define their lives. Today had been a morning of magic, reflection, and connection. A morning that reminded him of the true meaning of love and presence in the life of a child. After their peaceful morning walk, the CEO and his daughter returned to the apartment, the city bustling around them as life went on at its usual pace. Yet, inside their little world, everything had shifted. The father could not stop thinking about the magic of the morning, how his daughter had spoken her first word and the significance it held. He knew it was not just a milestone in her language development, but also a reflection of the bond she was forming with the people around her and the world she was beginning to notice. It was a lesson in awareness, empathy, and appreciation, one that reminded him of how children observe and learn far more than adults often realize. Settling into their cozy living room, the father spread a soft mat on the floor for his daughter. She wriggled out of her stroller, her eyes bright and full of curiosity. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional sound of traffic outside, but it was filled with warmth and love. Toys were scattered around, books lined the shelves, and the sunlight streamed in through the large windows, creating patterns on the wooden floor. The father watched as she crawled across the room, reaching for a colorful rattle. Every little action, every small discovery, made him feel deeply connected to her world and reminded him that childhood was a time of wonder and exploration. As she played, he began reflecting on his own experiences as a child. He remembered the importance of people who showed him attention and care, the teachers, neighbors, and family friends who made small gestures that left lasting impressions. He realized that the waitress at the cafe had become one of those figures, albeit briefly. She had given his daughter kindness and attention, and his daughter had responded naturally, recognizing the goodness she offered. It made him think about the many people who would come into his daughter's life and how each interaction, no matter how small, could shape her understanding of the world. The father then decided it was a good time to introduce a small learning activity. He pulled out a picture book filled with colorful images and began pointing to different objects, naming them slowly. His daughter followed along with wide-eyed interest, touching each page and babbling in response. Today, however, the experience was different. He noticed her focus and intent as she pointed to a picture of a woman, mimicking the action from the cafe, and he felt a sense of pride mixed with awe. She was beginning to understand that words could represent people, objects, and experiences, a realization that was extraordinary for a child her age. He spoke softly, encouraging her, but never pushing. He knew that forcing learning would not have the same effect as allowing her to explore naturally. Instead, he watched as she repeated the gesture from the cafe, pointing at the picture and making sounds that were clearly attempts at forming words. The father felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not for himself, but for witnessing her growth and understanding the power of observation. Each small milestone in her development was a reminder of the responsibility he carried as a parent and the joy that came from nurturing her journey. Throughout the day, he thought about the importance of balance. Being a CEO meant making tough decisions, managing a company, and sometimes facing criticism. But none of that mattered as much as the moments he shared with his daughter. He had to create time intentionally to be present for these experiences. He reflected on how he could adjust his schedule, delegate tasks, and prioritize family without compromising his responsibilities. The lesson was clear. True success was not only measured in business achievements but also in the love, attention, and care he gave to his child. Lunch arrived, and the father prepared a simple meal for his daughter. He made small, colorful portions of vegetables and fruits, ensuring they were easy for her to pick up. As she ate, he talked to her about the colors, shapes, and tastes, encouraging her to recognize the world around her through simple observation and words. Each moment was a chance to build her understanding, to help her connect language with objects, emotions, and experiences. It was a slow, deliberate process, but he embraced it, knowing that every small interaction contributed to her growth. After lunch, they spent time in the living room again, reading and exploring. The father introduced soft toys, using them to tell little stories. His daughter listened intently, occasionally giggling or making sounds in response. The father realized that these interactions were not only entertaining for her but also educational. Through play, she was learning empathy, imagination, and social cues. He remembered the cafe incident and how her first word was a spontaneous act of recognition. He understood that these experiences, both big and small, were interconnected, shaping her understanding of human relationships. The afternoon passed, and the father decided it was time for a short nap for his daughter. He gently carried her to her crib, humming softly as she closed her eyes. He watched her for a few moments, marveling at how delicate and pure she seemed. In those quiet moments, he reflected on the responsibility of guiding her life, teaching her values, and providing love and security. He knew that his role was not to control but to nurture, to allow her to explore while being a safe presence she could rely on. As he sipped a cup of tea, he thought about the people who would influence her in the future. Friends, family, teachers, and even strangers. All would play a role in shaping her understanding of the world. He wanted to ensure that she was surrounded by positivity, kindness, and genuine human connections. The cafe waitress had been a perfect example of this. A simple act of care had left a lasting impression, demonstrating that love and attention could be expressed in many forms, not just by family. The CEO also considered his own upbringing, realizing that the values he held dear were often the result of small acts of guidance and care he had received from others. He wanted to replicate that for his daughter, ensuring she felt supported, loved, and encouraged to explore the world confidently. He understood that parenting was a journey without a clear roadmap, filled with challenges, surprises, and moments of joy that could not be measured or predicted. Later in the day, they engaged in a new activity, drawing with crayons. The father guided her little hands, showing her how to make simple shapes, lines, and circles. She laughed at her own creations, pointing at the colors and shapes and babbling as if telling a story. He encouraged her, celebrated her efforts, and allowed her to take the lead. It was another way to nurture her development, creativity, and self-expression, reinforcing the importance of patience, guidance, and freedom to explore. Throughout the day, the father reflected on the lessons he wanted to teach her. Empathy, recognition, and appreciation for the world and the people in it. He realized that her first word was just the beginning of a journey filled with learning and connection. Every interaction, whether at home, in public spaces, or with strangers, was an opportunity for growth and understanding. He felt a renewed commitment to being present, attentive, and loving, ensuring that each day contributed positively to her development. Evening approached, and the city lights began to twinkle outside the window. The father prepared a simple dinner, sharing stories about his day and asking gentle questions to encourage his daughter's responses. She babbled and pointed, communicating in her own way, and he responded with encouragement and praise. He understood that communication was not just about words but also about gestures, expressions, and the emotions behind them. Every small interaction was building her confidence, understanding, and ability to connect with others. As bedtime neared, the father gave his daughter a warm bath, singing softly and making playful gestures. She giggled, splashed, and explored the water with delight. He cherished these moments, understanding that they were as important as any milestone. The bath was not just about hygiene but about bonding, trust, and shared joy. It was a ritual that reinforced their connection, a space where she felt safe, loved, and free to express herself. Finally, he tucked her into bed, covering her with a soft blanket and whispering words of love and encouragement. She drifted off to sleep, her little chest rising and falling rhythmically. The father sat beside her for a few moments, reflecting on the day, the first word at the cafe, the playful exploration at home, the shared laughter, and the lessons learned. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he was providing her with a nurturing, loving environment that would shape her understanding of the world and herself. As he turned off the lights and left the room, he carried with him the quiet joy of the day, the magical first word, and the realization that life's most profound moments often came from simple, genuine connections. He knew that tomorrow would bring new experiences, challenges, and discoveries, but he felt ready to embrace them, guided by love, presence, and the desire to nurture his daughter into a kind, aware, and confident individual. The day had been filled with small miracles, each reinforcing the importance of attention, empathy, and the bonds that make life truly meaningful. The next morning, the father woke early, as was his routine, and looked at his daughter sleeping peacefully. He watched her small chest rise and fall, the soft rhythm of her breathing filling him with a sense of wonder and gratitude. Yesterday's events, the first word at the cafe, had left a mark on his heart. It had reminded him of the importance of small gestures, attention, and kindness. Today, he wanted to continue nurturing that bond, making every moment meaningful and memorable. After breakfast, they decided to visit the same cafe. The father wanted to show his daughter that the world could be a place filled with recognition and warmth. As they entered, the waitress recognized them immediately and smiled. Her eyes lit up, and she approached their table, offering the same gentle kindness she had shown the day before. The father felt a wave of emotion, seeing the genuine connection between his daughter and someone outside their immediate family. It was proof that love and attention could transcend boundaries, that small acts of care had lasting effects. The daughter's eyes immediately focused on the waitress. She pointed again, repeating the word she had learned, and her tiny voice carried clarity and intent. The waitress was visibly moved, her expression softening as she knelt to the child's level. She extended her hand, and the girl touched it gently, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forming between them. The father watched, his chest full of pride and tenderness. He realized that this was more than a simple first word. It was an expression of connection, recognition, and gratitude. Around them, other customers paused, sensing the extraordinary moment unfolding. The cafe, usually filled with mundane routines, had become a place of quiet magic. Conversations slowed, and people watched with soft smiles as the little girl repeated the word. The atmosphere was one of warmth and human connection, reminding everyone present that life's most meaningful moments were often unexpected and simple. The father reflected on how children observe and learn from their environment. His daughter had recognized kindness, patience, and warmth in the waitress. She had internalized those qualities and expressed them in her own way. It was a reminder of the power of example, of the importance of showing empathy and care in everyday interactions. The father felt a renewed commitment to teaching his daughter through actions, not just words, to help her understand the beauty of genuine human connections. After a while, they left the cafe, walking slowly through the city streets. The father pointed out little details to his daughter, the colors of the flowers, the shapes of the clouds, the movements of birds. She responded with babbles, giggles, and gestures, each one a tiny celebration of discovery. He understood that these moments, though small and seemingly ordinary, were building the foundation for her understanding of the world, her confidence, and her ability to connect with others. They stopped at a small park, where children were playing and families enjoyed the morning sun. The father encouraged his daughter to explore, crawl, and reach for the grass and leaves. He guided her gently, allowing her to lead while being present to ensure her safety. She laughed and squealed with delight, her joy infectious. The father felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment, realizing that these shared experiences were creating memories and lessons that would last a lifetime. As they played, the father thought about the challenges of parenting alone. There were times of doubt, moments of exhaustion, and decisions that weighed heavily on his mind. Yet moments like these, the laughter, the first word, the recognition of kindness, reminded him why he had chosen to prioritize his daughter above all else. He understood that being present, attentive, and emotionally available was more valuable than any material provision or professional achievement. The father also reflected on the impact of strangers in their lives. The waitress's kindness had left an impression not only on his daughter but on him as well. He realized that every interaction mattered, that teaching his daughter to notice and appreciate others was a vital part of her development. Life was filled with opportunities to connect, to show empathy, and to build relationships, and he wanted her to understand and embrace that. After some time in the park, they returned home. The father prepared a small, healthy lunch while his daughter played nearby. He spoke gently to her, naming fruits, colors, and shapes, reinforcing language and understanding. She responded with gestures, babbles, and smiles, and he celebrated each small success. The day was full of learning, discovery, and connection, all unfolding naturally and joyfully. In the afternoon, he decided to introduce a simple storytelling session. Using soft toys, he created little scenarios, allowing his daughter to participate and react. She responded with laughter, excitement, and curiosity. Through these activities, he realized that teaching values and understanding the world could be fun, engaging, and interactive. Every small story was a chance to reinforce empathy, kindness, and the understanding that actions had meaning. Later, they spent time drawing and coloring. The father guided her hands gently, showing how to hold crayons and make lines and shapes. She experimented freely, enjoying the textures and colors, and he encouraged her creativity. He understood that these moments were more than play. They were opportunities to foster imagination, self-expression, and confidence. He celebrated her effort, not the outcome, reinforcing the importance of encouragement and support. As evening approached, the father reflected on the day. He had witnessed his daughter's growing understanding of the world, her ability to recognize kindness, and her joyful engagement with life. He felt gratitude for the small but powerful moments that defined parenting. The first word, the laughter, the curiosity, and the connection with others. He knew that these experiences were shaping her character and her perception of the world. Bedtime routines began, and the father prepared a warm bath. He sang softly, played gently, and allowed her to explore the water, fostering a sense of security, comfort, and playfulness. After the bath, he dressed her in pajamas and read a short bedtime story, watching her eyes grow heavy with sleep. He whispered words of love and encouragement, tucking her in with care and affection. She drifted off to sleep, feeling safe, loved, and valued. As he sat beside her, he reflected on the lessons of the day. He understood that parenting was a journey filled with challenges and joys, that every interaction mattered, and that small gestures of attention and kindness could have profound impacts. He felt a deep sense of purpose and responsibility, knowing that he was helping to shape not just her childhood but the person she would become. The day had been full of discovery, emotional connection, and learning, reinforcing the importance of presence, empathy, and love. Finally, he left the room, turning off the lights and feeling a quiet joy in his heart. The memories of the first word at the cafe, the shared laughter, the playful exploration, and the gentle guidance at home were all treasures he would carry forever. He knew that each day would bring new experiences, challenges, and opportunities, but he felt prepared to face them with patience, love, and dedication. Life was a journey of small, meaningful moments, and he was determined to cherish and nurture each one with his daughter. The following morning, the father woke to the soft sunlight streaming through the bedroom window. His daughter was still asleep, her small hands curled beside her face, and he watched her for a moment, reflecting on the incredible journey of the past days. Each morning brought new experiences, tiny victories, and moments of discovery that reminded him of the profound responsibility and joy of being a parent. He thought again about her first word at the cafe, how it had touched not only him but also the waitress, and how such a small act could leave a lasting impact on everyone involved. He remembered how she had pointed and spoken with recognition, expressing more than a sound. She had expressed understanding, connection, and gratitude. That moment had shown him that children are keen observers of the world, absorbing lessons not just from parents but also from those around them. Every gesture, smile, and act of kindness was noted and remembered by the little ones, often leaving impressions that would last a lifetime. The father felt grateful for the reminders the small moment had given him, teaching him to cherish and nurture not just his daughter, but also the world she was beginning to engage with. Breakfast was simple yet filled with warmth. The father spoke to his daughter gently as she ate, naming the fruits, the colors, and the shapes on her plate. She responded with gestures and babbles, practicing new sounds and occasionally pointing, as if sharing her own observations. He encouraged her with praise and laughter, understanding that nurturing her curiosity was as important as teaching words or concepts. Each small interaction was building her confidence, emotional awareness, and understanding of relationships. After breakfast, he decided to take her to a nearby playground. The weather was perfect, the air crisp and filled with the scent of flowers and grass. The playground was alive with children, laughter, and playful shouts. He encouraged his daughter to crawl toward the swings, the slides, and the sandpit, observing how she explored and interacted with the environment. He stayed close, ready to assist but allowing her to lead, understanding that independence and exploration were crucial for her growth. Her delight in discovering new textures, sounds, and movements filled him with happiness, and he laughed along with her as she squealed with joy. While she played, the father thought about the lessons he wanted to impart. Beyond words and knowledge, he wanted her to learn kindness, empathy, and recognition of others. Her first word had already reflected that instinctively, showing that she was absorbing the essence of human interaction naturally. He realized that experiences, rather than instructions, were the most powerful teachers. By observing the world and being allowed to participate, she was learning about connections, respect, and the subtle beauty of thoughtful gestures. After some time, he called her over and sat on a bench. He told her small stories about everyday life, about animals, people, and places. He encouraged her to point at things she recognized, repeating words slowly and clearly so she could associate them with objects and concepts. She responded with laughter, pointing, and babbling, expressing her delight and engagement. These simple activities were not only entertaining but also educational, nurturing her language development, cognitive skills, and emotional awareness. As the afternoon sun began to lower, they walked home slowly. He held her hand, marveling at the small but meaningful progress she had made. She had grown more confident, expressive, and aware of the world, showing curiosity and recognition in ways that amazed him. Every small step she took, every word she tried, every gesture she made was a victory, a testament to the power of patience, presence, and love. Back at home, he prepared a light snack while she played nearby. He continued to encourage her exploration, offering new textures and experiences. She touched, held, and examined objects, experimenting with sounds and gestures, and he responded with praise, laughter, and gentle guidance. He reflected on the significance of creating a nurturing environment, realizing that emotional security and encouragement were as vital as physical care and nutrition. These days, filled with small but impactful moments, were laying the foundation for her development, confidence, and understanding of relationships. As evening approached, he prepared for the bedtime routine. He gave her a warm bath, letting her play with the water and small toys. Her laughter echoed softly through the bathroom, filling him with joy. He sang gentle songs, told little stories, and engaged with her in a way that combined care, play, and emotional bonding. Afterward, he dressed her in pajamas and read her a short story, making the experience interactive and enjoyable. She responded with gestures and sounds, practicing new words and expressions, and he celebrated each moment with warmth and encouragement. Once she was tucked into bed, he watched her for a few moments, reflecting on the lessons of the past days. Her first word had been a simple act, yet it had opened his eyes to the depth of observation, recognition, and connection in children. It had reminded him that parenting was about presence, engagement, and guidance, not perfection or material provision. He understood that life's most meaningful moments were often small, quiet, and filled with love and attention. He thought about the people who would continue to influence her life. Family, friends, teachers, and even strangers. All would play a role in shaping her understanding of the world. The waitress from the cafe had shown that even brief encounters could leave a lasting impact, teaching lessons of kindness and attention. He hoped to provide similar experiences for her, ensuring that she grew up surrounded by positive role models, meaningful interactions, and genuine connections. As he left her room, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment and purpose. The journey of parenting was ongoing, full of surprises, challenges, and joys. He knew that there would be moments of doubt, exhaustion, and worry, but also countless moments of discovery, laughter, and love. The first word at the cafe had been a turning point, a reminder of the power of recognition, connection, and emotional presence. It had set the tone for the future, highlighting the importance of nurturing curiosity, empathy, and understanding in his daughter. He reflected on his own growth as a parent. The past weeks had been filled with learning, adaptation, and reflection. He realized that raising a child was not about perfection but about authenticity, attention, and love. Every small act, smiling, pointing out colors, reading stories, responding to gestures, was a building block in shaping her understanding of herself and the world. He felt grateful for the opportunity to witness these moments and to play an active role in her development. That night, as he finally settled down, he thought about the journey ahead. There would be more first words, first steps, and first experiences, each carrying its own lessons and joys. He understood that life was a collection of small moments, each contributing to the larger picture of growth, understanding, and love. The first word at the cafe had been a reminder that attention, empathy, and kindness mattered, and he was determined to carry that lesson forward in every interaction with his daughter. He smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection, fulfillment, and hope. Life as a single parent was challenging, but the rewards were immeasurable. He had witnessed the magic of recognition, the power of small gestures, and the joy of shared experiences. These moments would stay with him forever, shaping his approach to parenting, his understanding of love, and his appreciation for the beauty of life's simple yet profound moments. As sleep finally claimed him, he carried the quiet, enduring joy of knowing that he was nurturing not just a child, but a life filled with love, awareness, and the capacity to recognize and appreciate the goodness in the world.